My life started like most other normal average Australian girls. I grew up in the suburbs of Melbourne. I danced, I played netball, I went to school, I went to university and became a nurse. I started working in aged care, I got married, I had children. And I look back now and I can see that there were events that happened, a number of events that happened before I started using. The death of my grandmother, the suicide of my grandfather. I had a couple of minor car accidents. I moved house. I broke up with my husband. And then I started using. At the time, I didn't see all of that as anything major, and I'm still not exactly sure what tipped me over the edge, but now that I'm clean and now that it's a few years down the track, it makes sense that all of those events were just too traumatic and they built up one on top of the other, and I was looking for some kind of release. So I found myself very quickly not having food in the cupboard, not having a secure place to stay, not being able to pay my bills. I lost my car, I lost custody of my children. I was unable to maintain employment, and it took me a fair while to figure out that all of that was happening because I was using drugs. It only takes a couple of goes of using heroin before you're physically addicted, and I found myself physically addicted within a fortnight of using my first ever shot of heroin.
I guess what it did for me is it separated me from my family. It caused me to lose jobs. It caused me to steal. It caused me to lie. It caused me to cheat. All to do with the getting, the using, and the selling of drugs. I know when I see somebody, I know I connect. I have empathy. More often than not, I've been where they have, not really because I've used the same drug that they have, but the situation and the stories that they tell me are similar to my story.
The Buttery program is so effective because it combines a lot of two effective approaches. One is the community as method approach, and also individualised treatment in terms of having your own counsellor and caseworker who just shapes the program to suit your needs depending on what your underlying issues are.
So the Buttery program can be anything from between 3 months or to 7.5 months. A lot of people may think that's a long time to spend in rehab, but realistically, if someone's spent their a lifetime thus far in addiction, 7.5 months, even 10.5 months is certainly not a long time to devote to their recovery.
The Buttery program's open to all ages from 20 years to 75. I think my oldest client I've had was a 72-year-old. So it's definitely possible for anyone to address addiction issues at any time in their life. We are a dual diagnosis facility in that we can treat people who come in with depression, anxiety, trauma, grief and loss. We also are able to treat some people with eating disorders, but the large majority of our people will have suffered some sort of trauma in life. The community of method approach relies on the residents living in a therapeutic community, and here at the Buttery we have up to about 34 residents living alongside each other, eating, doing the program. They're responsible for the maintenance in the buildings, of the houses they live in, the shopping, the cooking. So it's looking at a holistic approach of trying to get people to rebuild their lives with all their living skills, their attitudes and their behaviours, as well as addressing underlying mental health issues with their counsellor.
They enabled me to trust them, and they did what they needed to do for me to be able to trust them, because I came here not trusting anyone and I came here not believing anyone.
Recovery from drug and alcohol substance addiction is really possible. It's not easy, But given the right circumstances and support and the commitment by people, it's very possible.
Coming to the Buttery and allowing myself some time to process all of that and to see what needed to change in my life has made all the difference. I now live in Byron Bay. I have a good relationship with my children. I work with troubled teenagers and I mentor them and I train them in hospitality. I do volunteer work. I have great relationships with my friends. I feel loved and I show my friends that I love them. My life is just a lot calmer and a lot more secure and a lot more peaceful than it was when I was using. And I think even before I started using, I had no idea that life could actually be as wonderful and as joyful as what it is now. I think the Buttery's long-term rehab program works so well because I was able to spend long enough away from using in a safe environment where the temptations were not there. That gave me the space and the time to deal with all of my feelings that came up. And I think what I got from the long-term program here at the Buttery was that a decent amount of time of being clean, my head became clear. I started to think more positive thoughts. I started to have hope for the future, and I don't think I would have got that if the program wasn't as long as what it was.
Follow-up surveys of people who've completed the program at the Buttery have shown that 70% of them are actually abstinent from drugs and alcohol up to 5 years after they've completed the program. This is actually a really high success rate in terms of treatment centres, and I think partially this is due to the actual structure and setup of the program and the fact that it's a long-term residential treatment.
Something about the Buttery that it works. You know, the residents still, you know, we can have a bit more of an informal relationship with the residents, but they still respect us as our role as their counsellor or caseworker.
Because of the facilities that we have, we are only able to help a certain amount of people each year. The Buttery has a dream of doubling the amount of people that it can help. In order to do this, the Buttery needs to raise funds to build the bigger, better Buttery.
And this requires donations and support from